How's it going, Twitter? So just got back from Florida, and this is the second year in a row we've had a extremely cold fall, extremely cold March, April, or we're just getting into April. We just haven't had a lot of growth, but I'm really excited where we're at right now. This is the big relay field. We've expanded our acres by about triple this year. So it goes all the way to that White House there. A couple years ago, this was our relay field right here, so we're going back to it to kind of feel how we're kind of evolving the soil. But this is a good spot right here to explain a lot of things. This really got me excited initially. So this is a big bowl right here. If you look up, we gain an elevation, 40 acres right there, drain into here. We get a big basin into here. So when, White Nebraska happened, it was frozen, and it doesn't take a lot of rain if you have zero infiltration to make things really bad. And it's hard to control that. If I had a huge biomass, I could warm the soil up and not freeze it. That's pretty hard to do when we're trying to get a crop out of here. So we had a big bowl of water right here. Now, when people drive by, they say, well, forget about that spot, forget about that spot. But what you don't realize is when wheat is dormant, it can be underwater for a long time. I'd be fine, and this is underwater many days, probably 30, 40, 50 days during the winter, and you can see it's alive and vibrant. And this won't happen again because we're going to fix the problem. As we get heat this week, this wheat's really going to start sucking up water, and that was a real big selling point for me, what happened in this specific area. And we had phenomenal beans right here. I made a lot of videos. So this is the fourth year of doing this. I'll talk a little bit about the evolution. Let's just go right to the game plan. I've talked a lot about my mistakes, how we're going to kind of pull this off. So this was planted with a John Deere 20-foot drill, something we've had for probably 15 years. So I've got in the mud here, and I use this. You can see the bad part of a chopping corn head. It really chops up the residue and floats. So we got a little half moon right here, but don't think this is going to be a complete waste. We're going to have a little bit of wheat here, but this will hold a lot of moisture and we can get some really big beans to crank. That's a good thing about relay. You might strike out a little bit here, we can get it back here. But anyway, you can see the rows right here. So we had 4 quad rows, or actually 3 quad rows and 2 twos, and that's the guest row right there. Without guidance, I did a pretty good job. Get a little squirrely here and there. But so you got 4 middles. You got 1, 2, 3, 4. So with the 40-20 and a 3-point planter, we're going to add another unit this week to that planter to make it a 4-twin planter. So we'll come in here in these 4s and straddle this thing, and we're going to get a little bit closer. So part of the evolution, last year we had 108 bushel beans in the plot. That was awesome. It got a lot of attention. That was kind of but what got me excited was we raised better beans than mono. So with the wheat, it really spiked up last year. So we sold several years worth of wheat at one day last year, about 30,000 bushels. And we've got our wheat priced about $1.50 above the market. For next year, we've got a lot priced between $6 and $7. So we're going to really go to 400 or 500 acres. Anyway, I digress. But we're going to bring this in a little bit. So if you can see the line right there, see them little angle lines? That's the Colombian Bambam pig shit that was put on here last October. And once this ground starts to warm up, we start getting warming days, all that ammonium is going to release and make this wheat go apeshit. So knowing that that's going to happen, we're going to get a little bit more aggressive with the wheat this year. It might hurt our beans a little bit, might not. We're going to have bigger pruning solar corridors, but we're probably going to bring this into like 15 or 16 inch twin rows between the 19-inch quad row wheat. So how do you get to 19? It would be 22.5 if I didn't mess with it, but we actually took the impact and wiggled these rows in. So this was over about 1.5 inches, that was over 1.5 inches, and that brought that in 3 inches to get you about 19. So that opens up a 41-inch corridor right here, and as this wheat expands, that corridor will get shrink and shrink and shrink every day. So the new light is right in the middle of the row, so we crush these a little bit. The new light, the beans will branch out a little bit here, and that light will feed these beans and keep them happy to coexist with the wheat for about 50 days or so. And then the magic happens when we get this wheat and we prune it. And how we're going to do that is we've got a 9600 John Deere that I bought specifically for this. And so you've got these 60-inch rows. So we're going to straddle this guy. We'll have an 18 4-inch single. I might even buy a 20.8 or even a 710 singles on there. And we're going to buy a 22-foot head. There's plenty on Tractor House that I can source for probably $5,000 to $10,000. We're going to buy a couple more of those flexi fingers, and it'll drive right down this row, and I'll have about 16 inches or so to grab these side row wheats. So it'll mirror just like the 40-20, and we'll be able to go in here and just surgically push the soybeans down and take that wheat in. So we've got our fertility via pig poop. An idea that's hard to kind of communicate is we just let nature do what it wants with the wheat. There's plenty of ammonium, nitrogen, phosphorus there for the wheat to really do well. We're taking out any, dry fertilizer, P and K, nitrogen, because if we get really aggressive with this wheat, I'm sure I could tack on more bushels. I could put fungicide on here, keep it alive longer, and I could probably potentially get 80 or 90 bushel wheat here if I wanted to. But I don't want to do that because every bushel that I add, every day that I delay harvest is going to directly hurt my soybeans. There's only so much of the finite resources. I don't think nutrients is really the problem, it's water and sunlight. So the more bushels we take out, the less water for the soybeans, less sunlight for the soybeans. So we're trying to find that equilibrium, which is kind of taking some time. So anyway, 40-20 3-point hitch, combine, 22-foot head is going to pull it off without guidance. It's just mirroring, the implement. So probably instead of spending, $100,000, $200,000, $300,000 and getting a big chub on all this equipment, I'm probably just going to double or triple up this equipment for next year, where we have an identical thing and kind of pull the thing off. And really, I'd like to do that is have several smaller pieces of equipment and employ more people. So anyway, as far as, I've kind of covered the bases here. Just kind of looking down here at the plant, the magic's just starting to happen with your tillering. So I've talked a little bit about the difference of the value of tillers in wide rows versus narrow. We've got 3 different seeding populations in this field. We started at 800K, 600K. We're down to 400K back here to see how it interacts with the soybeans, to see what the winning kind of combination is. But you can really see down here how this is really starting to tiller, even though it's really small. So the reason why these tillers are more valuable in wider rows is each leaf and shoot, see these new ones right in here? That is actually going to have the opportunity now to access sunlight. So you're actually allowing this wheat row to compete. And what happens is all these tillers will compete in the row center, so that all this competition raises the center of the row at a very high peak right in the center. Just like I talk about with a tree. You have a high center, and then the tillers will jet out. Everything has a will to survive, a will to thrive. So those tillers will jet out.